let's just, before we deal with next week's elections and the preparations from the mission, let's just deal with the mission's experience since 1999 up until this point, the prior experiences when it comes to Namibian elections. What can you clarify has been the position of SADC in the previous elections?
Yeah, thank you. SADC Parliamentary Forum is observing missions in Namibia for the fourth time, starting from 1999, 2004, 2009, and now 2014. Well, there are quite a number of experiences that were observed in the three previous observation missions. There were some strong points, some good practices, and some other weaknesses. And of course, SADC PF observed that some of the good practices that Namibia is undertaking is that one of them is that there is very high degree of tolerance amongst the contesting parties. And that makes elections become orderly and indeed peaceful. The other thing is that there is an existence of a code of conduct, electoral code of conduct, to which all contesting parties, political parties, and all candidates are supposed to comply to. And I think that helps in peaceful elections. The other thing is that there is an establishment of party liaison committees. These are responsible for dealing with disputes, electoral disputes. And I think that helps in holding peaceful elections. And also, there's a provision in the electoral law of Namibia that people living abroad, as well as seagoing personnel, should be able to vote. We think that is a very commendable arrangement. Apart from that, as I said, there are some weaknesses, okay? And some of the weaknesses are that there seems not to be adequate provision of airtime provided to other contestants during election in the Namibia Broadcasting Corporation. I think we need to address that, or government needs to address that. The other point is that the Electoral Commission needs to ensure that there are adequate voting materials in all polling stations, and they should be there before the polling day. Also, there's need to maybe establish additional polling stations and polling streams to avoid unnecessary queues. And of course, previous elections were held 2 days, and that would be minimized by establishing more polling stations and streams. Also, we think the Electoral Commission needs to improve in the counting process. You know, any further delays in the counting process causes a lot of anxiety and suspicion from the part of the voters. So these are some of the things which we have observed in the previous 3 elections.
Okay. Well, moving on to the composition of the delegation, which countries' MPs are part of the delegation leading the observer mission?
Well, the leader of the observation mission is the Speaker of Zimbabwe Parliament, Honorable Mudemba, Jacob Mudemba. He's not yet here. And I'm from Malawi, being his deputy. There are members from Lesotho, Congo, South Africa, Swaziland, Tanzania, Zambia, as well as Zimbabwe. So this is the composition this time around. What happens is that the SADC PF requests national parliaments to send their representatives, and these are the national parliaments which have responded favorably.
And how will the MPs be deployed throughout the, or pre-voting, voting day, and when do they then depart after the elections have been?
Well, we intend to deploy them to all the regions in the country, and well, in the meanwhile, they're undergoing some kind of training so that they acquaint themselves to the practices of the election in Namibia, the context of the elections in Namibia. And after we have finished that orientation course, then we'll send them to the sites so that they have a feel about how the election is being anticipated. They will deal with the stakeholders and so forth and so forth. Then, after we have deployed them in the sites on the polling day, they'll observe the electoral processes. When this is done, they'll come back and come up for debriefing. After the debriefing, we'll issue a statement.